Welcome to the deep dive. We're plunging into some really fascinating information today, taking a bit of a unique journey, actually. We're stepping into this, well, unsettling world of personal encounters with the unknown. These are stories drawn directly from experiences you've shared with us.
And it's really remarkable, isn't it, our human fascination with these kinds of narratives?
It is.
What is it that compels us when the ordinary suddenly flips into the extraordinary? These personal accounts, they give us such a raw, unfiltered look at things that, frankly, defy easy explanation.
They really do. And our mission for this deep dives is essentially to pull out the most thought-provoking nuggets from these firsthand stories. We want to look for those surprising details, the insights that really challenge how we see the world.
Exactly. Highlighting those gaps in our maybe conventional understanding.
Absolutely. So when you sent these in, we knew this would be a deep dive unlike any other. We're going to unpack 4 quite distinct personal stories. They really blur the lines between reality, or what we think is reality, and something far more unsettling.
Get ready. Yeah. These are the kind that tend to stick with you.
They really do. So let's jump right in. Okay, our first story centers on a woman named Tanya, described as radiant, with this beautiful long black hair. And she had this daily ritual, feeding a crow from her window. Seems harmless, right? Maybe even a bit sweet.
Sure, connection with nature.
But this simple act took a really dark turn. So the progression was bizarre. One evening, she'd had a shower, left her long wet hair hanging down her back. She ate dinner, but she just couldn't get full. An insatiable hunger like she hadn't eaten in days.
Wow, that's immediate.
Yeah. And the next day, bedridden, burning fever. But when the fever finally broke, things actually got worse.
Worse how?
Tanya started eating just massive amounts of food. Enough for several people, apparently. And then came the nights. That's when the real strangeness began. Roaming the house, opening the fridge, smashing bottles, dragging chairs around, knocking on wall.
Huh?
It was like she wasn't herself anymore. Not in control.
You see, what's so striking there is the speed and the profound nature of the shift. It's physical, yes, but also behavioral. That's not typically how illness presents.
Right.
In many traditional beliefs, a sudden extreme change, like that appetite, strength, personality, it's often interpreted as some kind of external influence taking hold, almost like something else has moved in.
That's a chilling way to put it. And it gets even more intense. The narrator's mother went to visit Tanya, right? And she walks in on this terrifying scene. There are 7 or 8 people physically struggling, trying desperately to hold Tanya down.
Because of her strength.
Immense, inexplicable strength, yes. So eventually, they bring in a priest. He places his hands on Tanya, starts praying, and suddenly this deep, guttural voice erupts from her. Not her voice at all.
Oh.
The priest asks, "How many are inside?" And the voice just replies, chillingly, 7. There are 7 of us inside her.
7.
And they gave a reason. She cared for us. She fed us. And their intention, we're taking her to the underworld.
That detail about care is, well, it's fascinating. In some folklore, acts of kindness towards certain animals or beings can inadvertently create an opening or maybe an obligation, especially if those beings are seen as more than just animals.
Like the crow.
Exactly. And the specific mention of her long, wet hair hanging down, that carries symbolic weight in many cultures too, sometimes seen as a moment of vulnerability or an open conduit. Which lines up perfectly with the spirit saying they took their chance right then. It wasn't just the feeding. It seems to have been a specific moment, a specific vulnerability.
And the consequences that follow this whole ordeal are just as disturbing. The priest warned Tanya, point blank, You will never marry or have children. If you try, tragedy will follow.
A direct warning.
And true to his word, she suffered miscarriages. 2014, 2018, 2022. Eventually, she and her husband adopted. But the narrator says, even now, they feel Tanya and her family do not live in peace.
That lingers.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? How much our small actions, like feeding an animal, could unknowingly connect us to things we don't understand, and the long-term impact.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, for our next deep dive, let's shift gears. This story comes from someone who was just a kindergartner at the time, told during recess.
Oh, interesting. Childhood accounts are often quite vivid.
Yeah. Picture this. 2-story school building, they're playing hide and seek, and there are these stairs on the left side, the creepy stairs that apparently everyone else in the school just avoided.
Always one of those places in a school, isn't there?
Totally. So the narrator, being maybe a bit fearless or just curious, decides to go up alone. Climbs the stairs, gets to the top, finds a single door, pushes it open inward, and steps into this room, untouched. Dusty chairs scattered around, cobwebs everywhere, and this awful smell like something rotting.
Okay, not a place you'd expect to be unlocked in a school.
Right. And then the really eerie details emerge. Red splatters on the walls dripping.
Yeah.
And on the blackboard, smudged handprints.
Red splatters.
Yeah. Now, being a kid, the narrator initially just thought, oh, old paint, rationalized it away.
Makes sense for a child.
But then a noise from the closet, bump, a shift, a rustle. And that was enough. Quick escape down the stairs.
Yeah, I don't blame them. But this really highlights something about childhood perception, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, how does a young mind process these really unsettling things, the splatters, that awful smell, the noise, and just sort of file them away as mundane in the moment? It's like a protective mechanism, maybe. Only later, looking back, does the potential horror sink in.
That's a great point. We do try to make sense of things, even scary things, when we're young. But here's where the real mystery kicks in.
Okay.
Later, a friend asked the narrator where they were hiding. When they described the room upstairs, the friend just looked at them like I was crazy and said, that room's been locked for years. Apparently the key was lost a long time ago.
Yeah.
No one, absolutely no one could get in.
Locked for years. But the narrator just walked in.
Exactly. So the central puzzle is how? How did the narrator just walk into a room that was physically locked without a key?
Right.
And, what was in that closet making those noises? And then the chilling realization looking back, those handprints. They didn't really look like paint. They looked like blood.
Wow. Okay, that contradiction, the physical reality of the locked door versus the narrator's clear experience, that's perplexing.
It really is.
These kinds of accounts, they often pop up in discussions about, well, what some call phantom spaces or maybe liminal areas in folklore, places where the boundary between, dimensions or realities might just be thinner.
Allowing temporary access?
Perhaps, or maybe perception itself can be altered. Yeah. Was the door really locked at that exact moment for that child? Or did something allow them entry? It really challenges our assumptions about solid reality.
Definitely food for thought there. All right, our third deep dive takes us to the Philippines, to an island called Siquijor.
Siquijor, okay.
This story comes from Jess, who was 15 when her family moved there. And she tells us the island is, and I quote, known for its witches and strange, unsettling happenings. Her own mother warned her about it.
So setting the stage with a bit of local lore and caution.
Exactly. And the first odd thing happened one midnight. A neighbor's dog was just sitting bolt upright, stock still in the middle of the road, staring into the darkness and letting out this low, sort of fearful bark.
Just the one dog.
Just the one dog. Meanwhile, Jess's own dog, sound asleep, curled up, totally oblivious.
Interesting difference.
Then came the main event. Jess is awake late, maybe 1 or 2 a.m. Suddenly, she hears a loud scream, a distant, desperate cry for help.
Whoa.
The motion sensor light outside starts flickering on and off, but she looks and there's no one there. Then the voice comes again, closer this time, low, almost a whisper. She couldn't tell if it was male or female.
That's unnerving, the flickering light, the whisper. And the dogs, again, the differing reactions are quite telling, I think.
How so?
Well, Jess's dog eventually reacts, as we'll hear. But the fact that the neighbor's dog sensed it first, and apparently no other dogs in the neighborhood made a sound, it's almost like they were unaffected or maybe instinctively knew not to engage.
Interesting.
It's a common pattern in these kinds of stories, this selective sensitivity. Maybe only certain animals or people pick up on these things.
Right. And Jess describes this feeling of just chilling isolation. She checked on her family, fast asleep, checked her own dog again, who was now awake, standing stiff, tail low, ears pinned back, just staring at the empty road.
So the dog felt it then?
Yes. But Jess was the only one awake, the only one hearing that chilling call for help. So what was it? The very next morning, Jess's mom gets this devastating phone call. Her cousin had passed away.
Yeah.
Suddenly, a heart attack. That very night.
Oh my goodness. The same night Jess heard the cries.
The exact same night.
Yeah.
And Jess's mother, given the island's reputation and the timing, she had her own belief. She thought it was her cousin's spirit lost, confused, still clinging to life.
And the cries.
The cries were her soul pleading for help.
This account, it speaks so powerfully to the idea of premonitory experiences, or maybe synchronicity, especially with that strong family connection.
Yeah.
In many cultures, the moments around death are believed to sometimes manifest, audibly or visually to loved ones, like a final call, perhaps.
It challenges our science, for sure.
It absolutely does. It challenges our understanding of time, connection, the boundaries between life and death. Stories like Jess's really highlight that enduring human belief in bonds that go beyond the physical, even beyond death itself.
And Jess is still left wondering, what was it that I actually heard that night? That question just hangs there.
It does, the enduring mystery.
Okay, let's conclude our deep dive with one final story. This one comes from India. The narrator's family moved around a lot because of their father's job. They settled into this new place, a small house. It had a tiny veranda at the back, but importantly, it connected directly to the road, so easily accessible to anyone just walking by.
Okay, so not very private.
Not at all. Soon after moving in, they hire a housekeeper. Everything seemed fine at first, but after a little while, she started acting. Well, strangely. One day, the narrator's mother went into the bathroom and caught the housekeeper doing something, quote, odd near the toilet. Couldn't quite see what, but her posture was just off, unexplainable.
Suspicious behavior.
Definitely raised a flag.
And then?
Not long after that incident, they found it on the veranda floor. A creepy drawing.
A drawing. What kind?
4 black figures, 2 large, 2 smaller.
Yeah.
Clearly, unmistakably representing the family, mother, father, narrator's sister.
Whoa, okay, that's unsettling.
Extremely. The mother was furious, also probably quite alarmed. She immediately grabbed a bucket of water and just washed that strange drawing away.
Right, you would, but the timing. The immediate consequence after she washed it away is compelling.
Tell me more.
Well, this really brings to mind concepts like sympathetic magic. You see this in many cultures. The idea that an action performed on a symbol, an effigy, a drawing.
Like the family figures.
Exactly, is believed to directly influence the real person or object it represents.
Right.
So removing that drawing, from the housekeeper's perspective, maybe it could have been seen as interfering with something she intended, disrupting a connection she'd made.
That makes sense, especially given what happened next. Almost immediately after the drawing was washed away, just a string of random accidents and injuries hit the family.
Like what?
Both parents caught chickenpox, which is unusual for adults. The sister fell off a swing, got a deep gash right across her face. The narrator got their leg badly caught in the spokes of a bicycle wheel. Just one thing after another.
Undeniable and seemingly random, but clustered right after that event.
Precisely. So the family's suspicion, understandably, fell squarely on the housekeeper. They fired her. But it didn't quite end there. One night, after the housekeeper was gone, the narrator woke up and saw a woman standing in the hallway, just staring. And she looked just like the housekeeper.
Goodness. A lingering presence, perhaps?
Or something else, because then came the final, really chilling piece of information. Days after the housekeeper left their home, news reached the family.
What news?
The housekeeper's husband had been in an accident, broken his leg, and her own children were constantly sick. This all happened after she stopped working for the narrator's family.
So if we're looking at this through that lens of folklore again, it raises questions about intent, doesn't it? Negative energy, curses.
Right.
Was the drawing a deliberate hex? Or just a conduit? And this apparent transfer of misfortune back to her own family after she left. Some traditions might interpret that as a kind of blowback, like the negative energy needing a new target, or snapping back to its source.
It's a really compelling detail, that ripple effect.
It really is. Suggests consequences beyond the initial interaction.
Needless to say, the family didn't stick around. They moved out of that house fast. And after they moved, things went back to normal. No more strange accidents, no more weird sightings. But the narrator is still left with that question, just like Jess. What exactly did the housekeeper do? It really speaks to that unsettling possibility of hidden influences in our everyday lives.
Absolutely.
So these 4 deep dives,
Yeah.
they're all so different, aren't they? Different settings, different events, but there are these common threads running through them.
There really are.
What stands out most, I think, is just the raw, personal nature of these encounters. They feel immediate, real, and it's those strange, specific details. The wet hair, the locked door that wasn't, the whisper on the wind, that creepy drawing. Those are the things that just transform ordinary life into something, well, truly extraordinary and unsettling.
And I think these personal narratives hold such enduring power because they don't offer neat answers. There are no easy, logical conclusions here. Instead, they just sort of highlight the vastness of the unknown. And maybe our innate human drive to try and make sense of things that just defy that everyday logic. They push the boundaries of what we think we understand.
Definitely forces us to consider frameworks beyond the purely material.
Mm-hmm.
And our mission with the Deep Docs, as always, is to help you pull out those key nuggets of knowledge, the insights from the material you share with us. These stories, unsettling as they might be, they really offer this unique window into the sheer breadth of human experience. And frankly, the profound mysteries that still surround us.
They certainly make you think.
They really do.
Hmm.
Which leads us to maybe a final provocative thought for you to ponder. What hidden connections might exist between our actions, even small ones, our environments, and maybe these unseen forces that seem sometimes to just brush against our lives, shaping our reality in ways we can barely even comprehend?
A question worth considering.
We encourage you to think about that, maybe even share your own thoughts on these chilling accounts we've explored today.